So welcome back to another How Did She Do It segment. I have Jenn Herman from Jenn's Trends on the line. We have no video for Jenn today, unfortunately, so we can't see her beautiful face, but she's going to bring tons and tons of value. We're going to talk about Instagram and how to use it for business and what's the latest and greatest on using Instagram. So I'm very happy to welcome you to the segment.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here. I'm so bummed I'm not on camera. I rushed to get hair and makeup done this morning so I'd be ready for camera, but technology had other ideas for us today, so we're just going to wing it.
Yes, that's what we do here. We flow because technology can be wonky sometimes. So let's dive into, I would love to get a little bit of a background because we know you really well. We've worked with you. We've seen you speak. I don't even know how we connected with you originally. Was it at Social Media World?
I was trying to think about that the other day, and I'm like, I really don't, we've known each other for, it's been at least like 3 years or something now, and I was trying to think back, I'm like, when did we first bump into each other? I don't know if it was either like a social media day or marketing world. It had to be one of the conferences though, and we obviously connected and hit it off, and it's been so many things since then that I can't remember the first one.
I know. Well, for our listeners, why don't you give us a little bit of a background on how you got to be this Instagram expert and so good with social media and marketing?
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So I started my blog in January of 2013, so about 4.5 years ago. And it was a hobby for me. It was just something to do. I'm one of those busybodies who can't just sit around on a weekend and be bored. So I got some harebrained idea one Sunday afternoon to start a blog. And I did. So I sat down and I just started blogging, and I had no strategy. I had no plan. It was really just when I had an idea, I would blog about it. And it was very beginner 101 level social media, because at the day job that I have, I was trying to get the upper management to embrace social media. And we encountered a lot of hurdles and a lot of, false perceptions of what social media was and how to get people to embrace it and get started and launch, brand new social media accounts. So that was I was like, well, if we can overcome these challenges, other people are probably going through the same thing. And that was the whole purpose of the blog, to just kind of share that how to get started stuff. And in the process of doing that, I was very fortunate to surround myself with some wonderful people who, back in the time, it was the Google Plus podcast type, the Google Plus Hangouts. And I got invited onto a bunch of people's, kind of episodes and podcast type things, and started to get to know a lot of really great people who had a lot of influence. And, everyone was like, okay, well, let's talk about Instagram. And I was like, I need to figure out this whole Instagram thing. People are asking about it. My customers or blog readers were asking about it. And I was like, well, I'll figure it out. So I fell in love with Instagram. The day I downloaded the app, I love photography as it is. So to me, it was a natural fit. I loved the platform. It was so engaging and people were so interactive and wonderful. And I was like, okay, so let's figure out how to use this for marketing. And I started Googling things and looking for things, and there was nothing valuable out there. Everyone was blogging about, how to get more Instagram followers, like more things, comment more, use hashtags, but there was nothing strategic. And so I was like, well, hey, I've got this blog. Let's figure it out as we go. And I was very transparent. If you dig 4 years back in my archives, you'll see my Instagram posts were very basic. And I was open and honest with my readers. And I was like, hey, I'm figuring this out as we go. Let's do it together. And I basically took them along on the journey. And since then, I've written, I think, close to 150 blog posts just on Instagram marketing. I now know even more people. I know people who, run the third-party apps. That we talk and run tests, and I get to see exclusive insights into, how other companies and apps are using things, integrating with Instagram. So I've been very, very fortunate to build up this established expert status. And now I speak at, events around the world, and I'm writing a book on Instagram for dummies and things like that because of the experience that I've been blessed to learn and experience and share with everybody through my blog.
Wow, I did not realize that you had 150 posts just on Instagram. That's incredible.
Yeah, and I blog about other social media too. Like, that's the thing. It's not just like my blog does social media and other social media trends. So I alternate back and forth between topics, but yeah, I think I've written close to maybe 130, 140 blog posts on just on Instagram alone. So if you have a question, I've answered it. If not,
Yeah.
I will answer it.
Yeah, that's so interesting. What I love when I hear you speak about the topic of Instagram is that you're always with the latest and the greatest. You're really on top of it to this day. Is that for 4 years you have been my go-to person. I watch your lives, I listen to your recordings, all of this. And I love that you just have really good, sensible, like you said, strategy, and you really make people think about the strategy side of things versus just hashtags or just liking posts and all of that. So you're doing a phenomenal job, just to give you a little pat on the back.
Thank you. I love that. I'll take the compliment. And yeah, I'm a huge advocate for strategy. And my biggest mantra is every single post, not just on Instagram, but any social media, every single post should somehow be furthering your end state. So whatever your goal is, whether you're trying to drive revenue, whether you're trying to build your audience, build brand awareness, get someone to opt into something, whatever your goal is, every single post should in some way be serving that, even if it's indirectly, even if it's just saying like, this post is more brand awareness than it is driving revenue, but by building brand awareness, you will eventually build, revenue, then it's indirectly still tied together, but you never post just for the sake of posting. Everything should have a purpose and a value behind it that you can correlate in some way. And so I'm huge on that strategy and knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it and creating content accordingly.
Yes. So let's get into what is the latest and greatest with Instagram. We hear about Instagram Live, we have Instagram stories, our regular posts. What is the latest and greatest? Because there's always something new and changing. What is the hot topic that you're loving right now?
So the biggest thing, and I think collectively the entire planet shifted a little bit with people jumping up and down, that came out about a couple weeks ago, was that Instagram has now released the nested responses. So if someone comments on your Instagram post, when you reply, your reply is now nested underneath their original comment, just like it does on Facebook, whereas up until 2 weeks ago, like you would just have this long random thread of comments and back and forth that you couldn't keep track of a simple conversation in your comments. Now they have those nested responses, which is the most exciting thing that's happened to me like in a while. Like I was screaming for joy when this happened because it streamlines your comment flow where people can actually see the conversations, but it allows you to build a better reputation in terms of that brand management as well. Like when your customers see you responding to other people and they can read the whole chain of comments, it tells a story. It shows how interactive you are. And when you're interacting with your individual, audience members who are commenting and you're commenting directly back, you're building that relationship with them. So it seems so insignificant when people are like, people who don't understand what we do. I was losing my mind over nested responses, and they're like, okay, that's cool. And I'm like, no, you do not understand. Like, this is groundbreaking. Like, to me, this is like the biggest news I've heard in a long time. So I really want people to take good use of that and make sure that you're using that ability to respond to those people who comment and keep that conversation going. Ask them a question, give them a compliment, provide value, really use those comments now more than even before to really build that relationship. So that was my big thing recently. But yeah, as you mentioned, Instagram Live, which is an amazing tool. And so when Instagram Live first came out, which is associated with Instagram Stories, when Live first came out, you went live, and the moment you hit end broadcast, it was gone. It just disappeared into oblivion. You couldn't save it. It didn't live on your profile. It just disappeared, which was kind of fun, but made it hard for a business. Because if you create content, not everyone can tune in at the same time, and you want to have a replay option. You want to be able to repurpose that content. So now you can both save your Instagram Live. So when you finish, you hit end broadcast. In the top right corner, there's a save option, and you can save that entire video to your camera roll on your phone. And there's a share option. So when you choose to enable the share option, it will live on in your Instagram stories for 24 hours. So when I do my Instagram Lives, which I do them every other Wednesday, I go live at the same time. I do my topic, I hit save. So now I have the entire video saved, and then I share it. So people can watch that replay for 24 hours. But then they know that replay is gone. And I don't always repurpose every live video to my YouTube channel or to Facebook or something else. So they know if they really want to see it, they have to catch it in that 24-hour window, or they may never see it again if it's not something that I repurpose. So it builds that intrigue and it builds that that retention with your audience, because if they know you're producing quality content, they're gonna want to go watch it. They're gonna, well, I don't want to miss it. Like, and I laugh because I have people that, like, one of my consistent blog readers, she's amazing, but she actually sets an alarm to make sure, like, on her phone, that she's there when my video goes live. Like, so she puts this into her calendar every other week to be there. And that's when you build that consistency. It really is a very powerful tool to connect with your audience and be able to share that. So I'm all about the Instagram lives right now. And then Instagram stories are huge. I mean, Instagram has just put, I think, every ounce of research, finances, and time into Instagram stories. They are bound and determined to destroy the world of Snapchat. And in doing so, they just, like, it seems like every 2 weeks there's an update to Instagram stories. They're adding more features. They're adding more filters. They're adding more sticker options. Like, there's always something updating. So Instagram stories are much more casual and they're much more raw. I keep saying that Instagram stories is today what Instagram was 4, 5, 6 years ago. When Instagram used to be just a random raw photo that was meant to be instant. Now Instagram is very curated. It's very pretty and well managed and strategic, which is good. I'm all for that. But Instagram stories allows you to be a little bit more raw, a little bit more random. And that content still only lasts for 24 hours. So again, you can save any post that you put up in your stories and repurpose it later, but it only lives in your stories for 24 hours. So you have the chance to go in and you goof up. It's maybe not the best lighting. Maybe, it's not the best editing or whatever it is, but it allows you to really showcase that personal side of your brand and really, build that authenticity and that transparency that customers want to see these days. Whether you're a small business, a big business, B2B, B2C, doesn't matter. People want that transparency, and Instagram stories is a gold mine for that.
So great information here. Let's back up to the Instagram Live for a second here and kind of break this down. So for someone who has a business and they're nervous about getting on a live segment, let's say, and like they don't know what to talk about, let's throw out maybe a couple ideas of what you should be showing behind the scenes or talking about a topic. We have a lot of product-based businesses in our community, like Lip Sense or products. We have coaches, a lot of coaches. So maybe let's give an example for a product-based and a service-based business of what a live could look like for them if they're nervous about getting started and being on and just talking.
Yeah. So first and foremost, before you go live, you want to get comfortable. Like, talk to yourself in the mirror. Put your camera phone or your camera on your computer, turn it on and hit record and start talking. Don't broadcast live, just record it and then go back and watch it. And as painful as it is, because I promise you, we all think it's painful to watch ourselves, you have to watch it back and pay attention to those little details. Get comfortable with talking to yourself. It's kind of like, you see people, on the nightly news, or you listen to people on the radio, and you have to understand it is not easy to talk to a blank space. Those of us who do it have gotten used to it, but if you've never gone live, you're not talking to another person's face. You're not getting their inflections and their reactions, and it's hard to keep your energy up and keep your personality flowing when you're literally talking to yourself. You start to feel a little crazy if you're not used to it. So you really want to kind of just get comfortable with that, get a good sense of, how do you want to pose? Where do you want to set up your camera? All that kind of stuff. And then have a script. You don't want to follow the script word for word. You want to have more like an outline, something that says, I'm going to hit these 4 points in the video. Or if you're doing a behind the scenes and you want to take people on a tour, I'm going to get to these 3 places and I'm going to talk about these things at each place. You want to have some sort of a guideline, because the moment you go live, everything goes crazy. Like things happen. I've been on live videos where literally the doorbell has rang, the dog starts barking. I mean, we're trying to go live today and technology's not working with me. You know, the phone rings, text messages are beeping in the middle of my live videos. Like life happens and it's so easy to get distracted and forget what you're doing. So have those bullet points of a script that tell you if you get off track or if someone asks a question and you go down a rabbit hole, where were you? Make sure you have that list of things to come back to. That really, setting yourself up for success before you get started is really the most important thing. And then in terms of those topics and what to talk about, you want to be what's real for your business. So it's great to say, oh, show behind the scenes. But if you're a coach, what's your behind the scenes? Like your behind the scenes could be that you are a stay-at-home mom and you have 3 kids. Okay, but do you want your entire behind the scenes to be your family life? No, you still want to show, are you working on a new, online course that you're working on? How can you showcase that? Are you working on something for your own personal development? Are you taking a course? Are you reading books? How do you relax? How do you rejuvenate? What are you doing with your kids? Like behind the scenes is such a broad term that people always think it has to be so finite, and it really doesn't. And that goes for even product-based businesses. Are you packaging up things for a new launch? Are you working on a new product? Are you offering an upcoming, clearance or sale? And what goes into all of that? And what do you have available? So there's a million ways that you can say, quote, behind the scenes. And it's really, I always say, imagine you have a camera crew, like imagine you're on a reality TV show and a camera crew is following you around all day. What does your life look like? What would end up being broadcast on reality TV if a camera crew followed you around all day? What are you doing? What's interesting? And it could be just going to the park. It could be when you go to the grocery store and you're like, oh my gosh, this literally just happened in the grocery store. How does this always happen to me? If that's something that's relevant to your life and your brand, then that's relevant. But if it's you went to the grocery store and it's the same thing as every other day, then that's not relevant. So have fun with it, and just start thinking when it comes to Instagram, whether it's for live videos, whether it's for stories or photos, start thinking of your life in terms of photography. Is this a place where I could stand and shoot a video right now? How's the lighting? How's the audio? Is it windy? Is it noisy? Is there a lot of background noise? And start kind of thinking about that when you want to do those things. But so for topics, I always say, you want to be able to answer a list of questions for your audience. You want to be able to provide value in your Instagram Live topics. What kind of things are people asking you that you can answer in Instagram Live? So frequently asked questions. What types of questions should you be answering that they don't know they should be asking? Those are things you can talk about. I mean, if you picked 5, what do they commonly ask, and 5, what should they ask? There's 10 questions. There's 10 Instagram Lives right there. I mean, now you've got content. If you did 2 a month, you've got content for 5 months. So it's find ways to do tutorials. If you're a product-based business, talk about, like you mentioned, a makeup type thing. Do makeup tutorials on an Instagram Live. Have live models set up and do Instagram Lives talking about what they're doing and how they're doing it. If you're a coach, and I do this because I'm essentially in that coaching realm. When I do my Instagram Lives, I teach topics, whether it's social media or Instagram, and give people advice on how to do something more effectively. So tons of things you can do. It's hard to generally give broad topics without, knowing specifically, but those are kind of some good places to get started. And the biggest thing is just have fun. You're live, let it flow, like embrace the craziness of reality that goes on around you, and people will love you for it.
I think that's such a great point to end on for for creating content for live, is that they think it has to be perfect, and life happens. Have fun with it. I think one of the funniest, I was doing maybe a Facebook Live, and it was one of those days where life was crazy. Like the doorbell rang,
yeah.
the guy they were cutting down a tree in the backyard. So I went to like a quiet space in the front of the house, and all of a sudden they were right outside the window cutting down another tree.
Oh my gosh.
So I just kept saying, walk with me, guys. And so I would go to the next area, and then like something else would be there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, well, walk with me. Here's my house. Here's a house tour. And I just kept walking from room to room, trying to find that quiet space. And people were like, oh my gosh, this is great. You're just flowing with it. And it's true. You just embrace it. You have fun with it, and you keep going on with what the value is in the content. So
and like you said, it's reality, it's life, and people want to see that we're not perfect. Like the stuff that, you know, that you guys put out with Get It Done Gals, the stuff that I put out with Jenn's Trends, that's polished, it's perfect, it's photo shoots. You don't see the chaos behind. And I actually, one of my craziest Instagram lives, which I think people probably for the same reason as you loved it the most, was same thing. The doorbell rang. I'd put in the maintenance request like 5 days earlier, and of course the guy shows up 10 minutes after I go into a live video. I'm like, really, dude? Like, now you have to show up at my house to complete a maintenance request? And the dog was barking, and I'd been late from work getting home, so I hadn't even changed. I was still in my work clothes. I hadn't freshened up my makeup. I looked like a disaster. I mean, not really, but I wasn't polished like I normally like to be. And I was like, you know what? Just to prove to you guys how chaotic my life is, look. And when I'm on camera, behind me is perfect. I've got my logo on the wall. I've got the nice little staged bookshelf. Everything in my life looks perfect. And I picked up the camera and I showed the floor where my daughter had completely trashed my office floor, and it's just toys and paper and chaos. Like, you can't even see the carpet. And everyone was dying laughing. They're like, oh my God, you're not perfect. I'm like, heck no, I'm not perfect. And it's like you said, it's when you bring in that reality and be like, look, we're here, we're trying to give you our best, and we are professionals, and we are, you know, respected for the quality of content we give you, but life happens. And that's why Instagram Live or Facebook Live or YouTube Live or whatever live you're doing is so great, because it's life, and you can't control those car alarms and the tree trimmers and the doorbells and the dogs and the kids. It just happens.
I think that's what the beauty of the live and the stories. I'm really enjoying them as I follow other people, because we can kind of, I think this is actually a good segue, is everybody wants a picture perfect feed. And so a lot of our customers and clients are really worried about getting that picture perfect feed, and it really holds them back from even posting. So, you know,
Yeah.
like the perfection with the bloggers and the bigger brands who have the manpower and the the money to
the photographers and the lighting and the tools and the schedules and
Exactly. So, you know, we try to work with people on saying, let's work on strategy. Let's still be real and raw. You know, here's a few apps to kind of make it flow, but that even still holds people back. So, you know, when you're talking to someone who's just starting with a brand and, you know, maybe they have a couple hundred and they're trying to grow their following, how important is it, or how much time should they spend on making that beautiful aesthetic?
So, and it's so funny. I literally just wrote a blog post on this topic, and it was this Wednesday's blog post. It was, how pretty does your Instagram really need to be? And I just said, I'm like, it's as pretty as you want it to be. There is no standard of excellence. And sure, you can look at all these other accounts and they could be gorgeous. But if that is not your brand, if that is not your capacity, then why are you aiming for that? Like you said, it'll hold you back. It'll make you intimidated. And done is better than perfection. We hear that all the time, just doing it. And people connect with that, like you said, kind of raw reality. And I think one of the biggest mistakes, especially that coaches make, is that they feel like they have to be perfect. Like, if someone is going to work with me, they have to think I've been doing this for 20 years and that I know everything and that I'm perfect. But we aren't. I mean, you girls know that. And I've been doing this for 4.5 years, and I'm far from perfect, and I'm far from knowing everything. And if you show that transparency and say, look, I've been doing this for 10 years. I know what I'm talking about. I'm here to help you. But I'm new to social media, and you're going to go on this journey with me, kind of like you're live, like, walk with me, people, walk with me. Like, you take them on that journey, and you just, like, I've told some of my clients to just put in their Instagram bio, brand new Instagram account, join us for the journey. And you're putting it out there. Like, this is new. Yeah, I have 3 posts. Obviously it's new, but you're telling them this is new. Like, it's going to evolve, and we're figuring it out. And you'd be amazed at how much encouragement you get from your audience when you're open and transparent and saying, I'm trying to figure this whole thing out versus trying to act like you know it all and falling on your face because you don't know it all. So take it in stride, just get it done. Take that time, plan ahead, like you said, plan strategically. Like, okay, this week I'm going to post these three posts, and it's around this topic and content. But get out there and take the photos. Get out there and post it. Write your captions. And you know what? If it's not perfect, that's okay. Your next one will be better, and your next one will be better. You go back and look at my Instagram from last year, the year before, I've evolved so many times, from the type of content to my photography to my captions, because that's what life is. We evolve as businesses and as individuals. So don't feel like it has to be perfect. And that being said, I'm a huge advocate for time management. Like, trust me, like, I have a full-time job. I run a successful side business. I'm a single mom. I do sleep 7 to 8 hours a night. So trust me, I figured out the time management thing. I'm not a master, but I figured it out. And for me, it's setting aside that time. Like, if you know you want to take these photos, give yourself an hour on a Monday to go take those photos. So that Wednesday at 3 o'clock, you're not scrambling going, oh crap, I need to get this photo up. And now I don't have time to take the photo. I don't have the right props, or it's the wrong time of day. And then you stress yourself out. So plan ahead and say, okay, Monday, we're going to go out and shoot these photos, and shoot 100 photos. Like, even like when it comes to my daughter, when it comes to a flower, when it comes to a piece of food, I take like 687 photos of everything. Like, my poor camera roll is just a disaster, because you never know which one's going to be the right one. Is it blurry? Was this angle better? Was this lighting better? You know, was there something in the background that you didn't catch, but when you shot from a different angle, then that thing was out of the background? So take time, get comfortable with it until you get really good at what your brand style is. You're going to have to just wing it and try it. Just get out there, shoot the photos, make the time for it. And I even tell my clients too, like, I'm like, hey, you know what? If you go out for dinner, take photos on your walk, take photos of the architecture around you, take photos of birds on the street, take photos of the trees, of the flowers, of the sunset. Because guess what? You might not need that tomorrow, but in 3 weeks, when you're like, oh, I have this great idea for a post, and it'd be great if I had a beautiful flower, you know, in bloom. Oh, I took those photos last month. And you can go back into your camera roll and find a photo that you took that you own the copyright to. It's your brand styling because you took the photo, but you already have it, and you're not now rushing around going, oh, it'd be great if I could find a flower. And now you're, you know, running around like a madwoman trying to find a flower. So get in that mindset of building up your Instagram content and a library of information that you can use when you need it, not just at that exact moment. I know that was a really long-winded answer.
No, that's a great one. I'm taking notes like crazy over here. Something that you said there, I want to make sure I heard this right, is about taking the photo and going back to use it, is that one, you don't have to worry about copyright because you took it. And then did you say that it's your brand because you took it? Did I hear that right?
Yeah. So the thing is, like, your branding and your styling, like, I take photography different than you take photography, different than so-and-so takes photography, different than, we all have our unique ways of holding a camera, and the way we get, you know, even just the fact that I'm 5'10" versus somebody who's 5'5", if we hold our camera at eye level, we have completely different perspectives at a 5-inch difference. It's amazing how different a photo can look, the exact same photo, from 3 different people taking it. So because you took the photo, it's automatically your branding because you took it. You took it with your stylistic. Like, did you get up high? Did you get down low? Did you tilt the camera? Did you, you know, unconsciously, because a lot of this you don't necessarily do consciously, but did you unconsciously look for a certain angle or lighting or perspective that you inherently thought was beautiful, that you thought was a great photo? You know, a lot of people get down really low. Like, I've seen so many people that for Instagram will like literally lie on the ground, like in a parking lot, in the dirt, in the grass, because they're like, this is the best angle. And I'm like, you go for it, honey. You get that great photo. I'm going to stand up here and take it my way because I'm not getting down in the dirt. But that doesn't mean I haven't got down in the dirt. I have actually. But I have my way of taking a photo of the exact same object that someone's down here laying on the ground. So your photos start to unconsciously be your brand just because of the way you're taking the photos and the way that you're thinking of how to capture things.
I love that. I love that so much, because the things that hold people back are, you know, trying to make it look pretty, or trying to make it look branded and have consistency across the board, or they're worried about the caption and trying to write the text. So, I mean, I love that you're saying this just comes natural, because it's that subconscious of you're taking a photo the same way you're going to take it the next photo, and you build your brand off of that.
Exactly.
I love what
And
you're
your
saying.
styling, like the way don't get me wrong, I love a beautiful pastel, light and airy photo. I cannot take one of those or edit one of those to save my dang life. I'm not joking. I am physically incapable of taking a beautiful, white, airy photo. It does not happen. It's just not in my capacity, because my capacity is bright, bold colors, deep saturation, dark lines. Like, if you look at my Instagram, it is bold and colorful, and it's a lot of blue because I navigate towards the color blue. And if you look at my Instagram feed, you don't realize it unless you go and look for those features, but that's exactly how my content is, because that is how I create my content. That's true to my brand styling. And if I started posting all these airy, beautiful, flowery photos, people would be like, what happened to Jen? Did she get hijacked? Like, because it wouldn't look like me, and they would know it didn't look like me because it's just
Yeah.
not my branding. And so don't feel like and that was what I put in this week's blog post. I was like, you don't feel like you have to be the Stepford wife blog or Instagram account. Like, you don't need to look like everybody else. Be true to you. And if your branding is bright, bold colors, embrace it. If you love everything in black and white, do black and white. No one is stopping you. Play with it and find your comfort zone, and you'll feel so much more comfortable creating content when you don't feel like there's this fake, standard of excellence that you have to adhere to, because there really is no standard of excellence. And the moment you're true to yourself and creating your own authentic content, I guarantee you engagement will increase and your followers will increase, because they will know that that is your authentic personality coming through.
I love that. I love everything that you're saying there, because that is something that we hear quite often. The other thing that people are really having issue with is knowing what to say. So do you have any
Yes.
tips on how the heck to write a caption that gets people engaged, but that feels true to them? Because, being authentic, it's hard sometimes when you think, oh, what do I share? So
Yeah.
let's talk through that a little bit.
Yeah, it's such a great point. Like, Instagram is photos and videos and stories and live and all of that. And it's visual. I get that 100%. But the reality is your photo gets their attention. The caption is what makes the conversion. No one is going to buy your product based on a photo. No one is going to sign up for your course based on a photo. No one is going to go read your blog post based on a photo. It's not going to happen. You need the caption. The caption is what makes the conversion. So take a beautiful photo. It's all great. You have everything. You've edited it. You're comfortable with it. And everything looks good. Your caption should be 1 to 3 short paragraphs. And by a short paragraph, I mean a paragraph on Instagram can be a sentence, because there's really not that much space. If it's a long sentence, that could essentially be 1 paragraph. But you want 1 to 3 short paragraphs that are informational, take the value and story of the photo that much further, and that includes some sort of, informational content, whether it's telling a story, whether it's providing a tip, tutorial, piece of information, whatever it is. And not every post, but many of them should have some sort of call to action. And that call to action can be tag 2 friends in the comments below who you think would find this tip helpful. Your call to action could be click on the link in my bio to read the blog post. The call to action could be click on the contact button on my bio to book your reservation today. It could be stop by the store this weekend to get your 20% off coupon. Like, your call to action can be anything you want people to take action on, as simple as, leave a comment below with your thoughts, to go buy the product, the link is in our bio. It can be any range, and so again, not every post has to have a call to action, because that gets a little salesy, a little slimy when you're constantly telling people to do something. But that when you're just asking them, say, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Or do you, have you ever tried this? Asking that question, have you ever tried this, is a call to action. You're inviting them to leave a comment and share a story. So you can do that as much as you possibly want without, constantly being click on the link in our bio, click on the link in our bio. That gets like a little too much. But have a great caption, use emoji, put some personality in there. It's like, people know when they read my blog posts or my captions, I never say, I want to do this. I say, I wanna, W-A-N-N-A, do this. Because that's how I talk. I don't say, I want to do this. I go, I want to go do that. And that's how I write. That's how people know when they meet me in person. Everything they see online is exactly who they're going to get in real life because I write the way I talk. Use formatting and spacing. So you want to make sure you hit that return key and drop down a couple lines to your next paragraph, because one big, giant, long run-on paragraph is really hard to read on Instagram, and you'll lose the value of, either the point you're trying to stress or your call to action, that sort of thing. So bonus points here for people who know how to do formatting. If you don't, you want to make sure, whether it's on iOS or Android, that you do not have an emoji as the last character on the line, because then you will not be able to hit return. You'll lose the formatting. And you cannot have a space after the last character. So if you hit, da 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 da, and then you hit period at the end of your sentence, there cannot be a space after the period. If there's a space before you hit return, you will not get the return. It'll lose the formatting. So you want to backspace right after that period and then hit return, and then you can get your formatting in. So just keep that in mind. That's the same thing for Android and iOS. Hopefully someday they change that. But for right now, it's, kind of sneaky for people to always figure out how to do the formatting properly. But use that breakup in paragraphs to really drive home, that kind of the value and that sort of thing. But tell a story, like be personable, be funny if you're funny, be professional if you're professional, be witty and sarcastic if that's who you are. Like, don't feel like there's this, again, that fake standard of excellence. You don't have to be this world of perfection on Instagram. Be authentically you, and that comes through with a really well-written caption that is true to you. Just be your voice. And if you have multiple people managing your account, like even, I know, Nicole, like you and Lindsay both manage the account, but you've established a brand voice. You know how the brand will be spoken of and how you guys write and things like that, that it's cohesive no matter who's writing about it. So if you do have multiple people writing your captions, you want to kind of have a standard of, this is how, we want the brand to be portrayed. These are the kind of things we want to, set as an established brand voice. But if you have different people and you want people sign off so that people know, hey, person A wrote this one and person B wrote this one, and then they know why they're different in terms of tone or language, then that helps, add that personality too.
Yeah, it is interesting Lindsay and I had to work through that. And then when we brought on our VA, we had to work through having a team of people contributing to the post. And we did play with it where, Lindsay pops on sometimes and does a weekend post and signs off as Lindsay. I'm more on stories, so I try to sign off more often, XO Nicole. And then we have just kind of, if there's no signature, then it's just the brand all together. And so we've played with it all different ways, and this feels the most comfortable and authentic for us. And very, very comfortable. But it does take a little bit of, as you grow and you bring on people to help, we find that people who have just started out in their business and they outsource the Instagram stuff, they don't really get much engagement. They don't really get many followers.
Mm-hmm.
And once we say, hey, why don't you just put pause on outsourcing and bring it back to just you and really post authentically, show up, speak right from your voice, like you said, like just write how you talk, and post really just authentic. It was incredible. We took a group of people through in May, and tons of them had all of these notifications from Instagram. Your post engagement has gone up 80, 90, 95%. Just
yay, that's awesome.
Super real and authentic versus like just outsourcing it and having this blank canvas of stock photos.
And that's the thing, a good company, like if you outsource to a great company who really takes the time to learn your brand voice and they're working with you in that way, then you can still get that benefit. But to outsource to a company like that, you're paying a price for that too. Like if you're, like you said, if you're just outsourcing and being like, hey, I hired so-and-so over here for like, $100 a month just to manage my Instagram. Yeah, they're not doing your brand voice. They're not doing your quality content. And that's where, like you said, no one can be your brand voice better than you, because you are you. And most small business owners, coaches, you are your brand. So trying to have somebody else speak on your behalf is just not real. And it comes through because they're like, well, you're telling me your brand is this like fun, you know, beachy, relaxed, chill brand, but all of your posts are the most stuffy, you know, stick in the mud type comments. Like, what the heck? Like, they don't correlate. So you can't have it both ways. You have to, you know, make sure everything's aligned in your messaging.
I love that. I love it. So, you know, once you get the images and some of the lives and stories going and you're able to kind of just flow with your captions and get all that nailed down, what is best practice for engagement at this point in the game? You know, I see that a lot of people are struggling with, when we ask
Yeah.
people, what are you struggling with? They say, well, nobody's commenting, nobody's engaging. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm putting all this stuff out there, but no one is really responding. Should I even continue on?
So first, because I can't possibly answer this question wholeheartedly in such a short period of time, go to jenstrends.com and go Google or go search through my blog for this topic, because I've written tons of blog posts on this. But the short and sweet is, right now, post less content. My biggest thing I can stress right now is don't post more than 3 to 5 times a week. Because of the algorithm, the way Instagram algorithm works is, if you don't get a lot of engagement on your post, then the next time you post, they're going to push it further down in the feed and further on down the feed, and so on, to the point where now people are never going to see it. And so then you're not going to have any engagement. But if you're posting only 3 times a week and it's the best content you can create, it's high value, you're giving that tip and tutorial information, you're giving that funny content that they can relate to, you're giving that personal look that they can connect with, you're sharing your, you know, your new products or your services that they go, I want this kind of stuff, then they turn around and they engage with it because they haven't seen anything from you in a while. And they're like, wow, this amazing post just came out, and they're more likely to like it. They're more likely to comment on it. And the more they do that, the higher your content keeps showing in their feed. Not to mention, Instagram is getting noisy. There's, you know, it's not Facebook level noisy, but it's getting noisy. And as a result, the Instagram algorithm is sorting content. And again, if your content is always getting engaged with by your followers, then it's going to show up in their feed. If they start ignoring your content because you're posting 8 times a week or 3 times a day, then they're going to try and be like, oh, I don't need to see all your content, and they start scrolling past it. Then you're negatively impacting yourself with the algorithm. So post less content. It sounds counterintuitive, but when you understand the science of it, 3 to 5 times a week tops is ideal for right now for posting schedules. Then related to that, like I said, make sure it's the best quality content. Never post for the sake of posting. Make sure you're putting content out there that your audience wants. If you post videos and they don't engage, then stop posting videos. If you post videos and they get twice the engagement, create more videos. If you post things that, you know, are all product related and those get no engagement, then find more creative ways to post them that they do like. For example, if when you're doing tips and tutorials, do they love that content? Great, do a tip and tutorial, but throw in a call to action that you have a new product that's related to this, or a new service, or a new online course. Find what they're reacting to and give them more of that. Hashtags still work. There's a whole, again, go to my blog and look up shadow banning or look up hashtags, and you can find all of this and more. But there's a big concern about hashtags right now. And yes, you still need to use hashtags. You still should use them. They do still work, but you want to be strategic with them. Don't just use hashtag love and hashtag happy and hashtag dogs of Instagram and all these super popular ones, because they're irrelevant. They're too noisy. You want to get much more industry specific, much more niche specific, your own branded hashtags, creating a hashtag strategy around what you actually do versus just trying to piggyback on anything that's popular or trending, because those are not going to help you anymore. And then having those calls to action in your captions, talking about, you know, leave a comment below if you've ever experienced this, or tag 2 friends who would find this tip helpful. If you're not asking your audience to do things, they're not going to do it. It's amazing what people do when you say, do it. They go, oh, maybe I should do this. You know, it seems so simple, but it's really something you need to do. So those are kind of the best things to get started. Obviously, liking more content, the more you're on Instagram, the more Instagram actually rewards you. So if you only log on to Instagram like 3 times a week and you just kind of scroll through for 5 minutes, I haven't proven this quite yet, but my theory is that if you're doing that, then Instagram actually starts lowering your content in the in algorithmic sorting for the people who follow you. The more active you are and the more you're present, the more they're rewarding you. They want people on the platform. So if you're not actively engaging, if you're not present, they're like, you don't care. Why should we care? I haven't proven this per se, but I'm seeing trends that lend towards this theory. So that's kind of like hot off the press.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying there. I mean, whether they're tracking it or they just see that if you're on longer, you like and comment and talk to people and direct message people, there could be that correlation, or they're just fully stalking you. Who knows?
Things that Instagram does that I wish I could get my hands on. And like one of these days I'm gonna drop in through the ceiling vents and like climb through the Instagram, headquarters and try to find all this insider information. But yeah, and no one knows. Whatever I say today, and that's the unfortunate thing, and it's so hard, is whatever I tell you today could be completely irrelevant next week.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but that is reality. That's the same thing across every platform. Facebook changes their algorithm, daily, weekly, hourly, who knows? And they own Instagram and they do the same thing. Things just change. And all of a sudden you're like, my engagement really dropped off this week, like really dropped off. What did I do? And it can be scary. And for a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs, you're like, if you don't have, 1 million followers, you notice every follower. Like you notice when your numbers go up, you notice when they go down. And it can be really heart-wrenching when you lose 10 followers when you only have 150. Like, you're like, why did they leave me? My whole thing is, don't worry about the ones who left you. They could have been spam accounts. They could have been people who followed you a while ago that just decided they don't like what you're doing now. Don't worry about them. Focus on the other ones that are still following you. If you're always focused on who's not giving you attention, then you're never going to build your audience, because they're the ones who are following you and actually care, and they want to see what you're creating. If you're trying to create content for everybody else, then you're alienating the people who are actually relevant to you and who actually want to work with you and buy your products and services. So don't worry about those who disappear. Don't worry about those who aren't following you. Keep doing what is authentically true to your brand. Keep giving your audience what they want, and your brand will build itself organically and exponentially over time.
I have a question around that as far as numbers. We don't focus on numbers as people, we don't try to grow it super fast. We want it really, really organic and really engaged. But I have noticed that a bunch of people will follow you and then unfollow you. And to me, that's playing games. I don't like that stuff. I don't have time for that stuff. I don't know how these people have time for it. I don't know. Maybe it's a program, but what is that? Can you explain what that whole thing is? Do you know what it is?
It is. It's the follow unfollow game. So it really, it's not unique to Instagram, but it's very, very prevalent on Instagram. And there were, until in the last maybe 3 to 6 months, there were countless apps that would do this for you. Instagram started shutting them all down, which is why you don't notice it as much anymore. Because Instagram's like, this is not true, authentic engagement, and we're going to shut this shit down. Like they were like, we're done with it. But basically, what happens is somebody will follow you. They wait 24 hours. If you don't follow them back, then they unfollow you. And these apps would do it where like they know the maximum numbers. Like you can't follow more than 20 people an hour, and you can't, I think that's the number, and you can't follow more than like 200 people a day. Like let's say, or maybe it's 1,000 a day, whatever it is. There's these caps, and they constantly change. So I don't know the exact numbers, but these apps would turn around and say, okay, every hour we're going to follow 20 people. And then what they would do is then the next day, 24 hours later, anybody who didn't follow you, they would go back and unfollow them for you. So now you can go back and follow that many more people. And it just becomes this repetitive cycle over and over and over. And a lot of big names, a lot of brands, a lot of people have built up huge audiences using this method. Because if you do this consistently, and if an app is running in the background doing it all, mathematically and systematically for you, and you're not having to do it physically, you can absolutely grow your audience by hundreds of people a week. easily, if not thousands of people a week. But it's completely irrelevant. And yes, they'll be like, oh, well, we're targeting people who are in your target audience, and you give us the criteria, and we're only targeting people who are, your ideal audience. It's crap. Like, if they're not following you back, it doesn't mean they don't like you. And if they are following you back, it may not be that they like you. They might just be like, oh, this looks interesting, but they may never engage with your content. They may never be a relevant, customer. They could be another spam account that's playing the same game and following other spam accounts just to get each other's numbers up. So it's a completely irrelevant tactic. I always advise people not to participate in any follow for unfollow tactics. Keep creating honest, genuine content. Keep building your audience through authentic ways. Your friends, or the people who are following you, will tell their friends about you. They will tag their friends in your posts. They will turn around and, hashtags will get you exposure. Instagram stories, Instagram lives will get you exposure. You have other marketing tactics where you're telling people you're on Instagram. It will get you exposure. I would rather have 1,000 followers, 876 of which are likely potential customers, versus having 10,000 followers, 200 of which are potential customers. So don't worry about how many followers you have. It's irrelevant. It's more important that you're getting the right followers, even if that's a small number.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree. I think that if you focus, like you said, on those who are following and just really connecting with them and giving them great content, that will bring you further along in the long haul.
Absolutely. And I don't, I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I'm not saying my account's, the gold standard by any means. I have 14,000 followers. It's a lot. It's not that much for being the forefront blogger on Instagram marketing. Some people are like, really? You don't have like hundreds of thousands of followers? I'm like, no, and I don't care. Like, I don't care if that number goes up or down. And a lot of those people who follow me don't engage with my content. I'm okay with that. I'm going to keep creating content that's going to get the engagement from the people who are going to engage, the people who are likely to, buy into my membership program, who are likely to come over to read my blog posts, who are likely to hire me as a consultant. That's who I'm focused on. And if I only got 87 likes on a photo, but I got 2 new clients out of it, I couldn't care less about those 87 likes not being 187 likes, because I got 2 new clients.
Yeah.
And that paid my bills this month. So that's what I'm worried about. I am not worried about the number of likes compared to another post. And that's some of my highest converting posts are the least engaged posts, but they converted. That's all I care about. Just because someone didn't throw up a like or someone didn't leave a comment, if they clicked that button and they read my blog post and they signed up for a consulting session with me, that's a win in my book. Just because the post over here got 250 likes, did it do anything for my brand? Probably not. Besides maybe getting some attention, but it didn't get me a customer. So it's really, you have to find the right metrics to measure and put the focus on the right thing.
Oh, I love that. Put the focus in the right place. That is a quotable.
Yay!
So we have a question from our community. Someone asked, does Instagram make your posts less available if you use things like Planoly or immediately share over to Facebook?
So I have seen nothing. I have heard nothing of impact when you use a third-party tool. Now, here's the thing. The way Instagram and their API works is that any legitimate tool you use, whether it's Planoly, Agorapulse, Hootsuite, any of those kinds of things, you still have to authorize it via your phone. So you schedule it, you put it in the website on the, in your dashboard, whatever it is, but then you get a notification on your phone that you actually have to go ahead and authorize it on your own Instagram profile to post it. So at this point, it's not too big of a deal in terms of what that, it still looks like you're posting it from Instagram because you are posting it from Instagram. So there isn't that direct correlation yet where, like, on Facebook where it says this was posted via Hootsuite and that sort of thing. So there's no proof that that's actually happening. In terms of the direct share to Facebook, I never share directly to Facebook or to Twitter or any other platform ever. The reason why is as it's formatted, and see, now my dog's gonna get all excited. So this is life happening. And what happens is if you are, come here. If you are posting directly to Facebook, then you're keeping all your hashtags and you're keeping all that original content from Instagram. That doesn't perform as well on Facebook. It doesn't look the same. It looks like it came from Instagram, and it doesn't hold true that this is true to Facebook content. So post to Instagram, and then after you've posted it, then go in and actually reshare it after the fact to Facebook. And at that point, you can edit your caption. You can take out all your hashtags. You can even change the wording, because who I talk to on Instagram is a different audience than who I talk to on Facebook. And I use different kind of ways of talking to my audience. So you can actually change your caption. So even though you're sharing it from Instagram to Facebook, you can personalize it for Facebook. And that does help with Facebook reach. There's no indication that that actually helps with Instagram exposure, but it does 100% help with Facebook reach, because Facebook loves when you share things from Instagram.
Oh, they do?
Yes, Facebook loves it. If it comes from Instagram, you will absolutely get more reach.
Okay, so you have to post it and then go back in and share it over.
Yeah, so if you go to the photo after you post, you click on the little 3-dot button on the photo, and you can choose share, and then you can choose, to your Facebook page or whatever it is. But yeah, take out your hashtags if you put them in the original caption, edit the caption if you want to, but always share after the fact. It will always give you a much better reaction on Facebook. And it will definitely help your Facebook reach 100%.
Got it. Oh, this has been so valuable, Jenn.
Yay!
Well, you are our expert, our resident go-to expert. So we are always so eager to talk with you and to share your content and direct people your way. So I really appreciate you sitting down and talking through all of these questions. That a lot of these questions are from our Facebook group. We have a question that, we always ask them, what are they struggling with? And so I compiled all of these from our Facebook group. So I can't wait to share this video in our Facebook group and for our followers on YouTube. And
please leave questions on the video or anything, and I'm happy to come back and answer them. And if you guys have questions after the fact, you can always, do that. I'm happy to keep the conversation going and share that knowledge with everybody in your community.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we'll make sure to, I'll put the, where to find you and the engagement posts and stuff like that for your Jenn's Trends website. And where else can we find you and connect with you? I know that you have a book that you're working on. I don't know if you want to share that.
So I'm doing it's Instagram for Business for Dummies. We have just submitted the last of the writing. So we're hoping that it will go to publication by the end of the year. So everyone's Christmas wish list can include the Instagram for Business for Dummies book. So hopefully that'll be out by the end of the year. We're super excited to get that. I had 2 co-authors on that book. You can find me at jennstrends.com. That's always Jenn with 2 N's, because I was born in the 80s with about a bazillion other Jennifers. So it's always Jenn with 2 N's. So jennstrends.com. And from there, you can find everything. You can contact me. You can email me. You can find all my social media. But I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Jenns, JENNS _trends, TRENDS. But yeah, hit up the blog, read all my blog posts. There's tons of resources on there, as well as, like I said, contact forms. You can email me or reach out to me on social media or anything. And I'm always happy to talk. Let me know that you came from the Get It Done Gals Facebook Live session, and we can chat more about anything you guys have questions on.
Great. Thank you so much for being here, Jenn. Can't wait for everything to come out for this book. I'm going to put it on my list right now, because I have so many books on Amazon. Is this going to be on Amazon?
It will. Yeah, it will go out. It'll be full publication for print in bookstores as well as online.
Yay. Well, thank you so much again for being here.
Thank you so much.